AI Wars, How Publishers Can Evolve Their Organic Search Strategy, with Duncan Colman. The In Search SEO Podcast is brought to you by Similarweb, helping you build better SEO strategies with digital intelligence, insights, and data. Hey, it's David. How can publishers evolve their organic search strategy in the AI era? That's what we're discussing today with a man who has 10 years client-side marketing experience, giving him the inspiration to set up his own agency to be a driving force in class-leading strategic marketing. He's the director and founder of digital agency Spike. A warm welcome to the In Search SEO Podcast, Duncan Colman.
Hi David, how are you doing?
Very good, thanks, and thanks for coming on, Duncan. It's good to have you on. You can find Duncan over at spike.digital. So Duncan, today we're discussing how publishers can evolve their organic search strategy in the AI era. So what trends are you currently seeing then with publishers using LLMs for content production?
Yeah, so in the publishing website space, it's like anything with artificial intelligence at the moment. There are varying different pictures and adoption curves. So at an early point in 2017, the Press Association started to use artificial intelligence for the creation of local and hyperlocal content. And that was certainly at an early point a really good use case. So, whether it's in Europe or the States, at hyperlocal level, there's what we refer to as news deserts. So areas, hamlets and villages that would want, recent news and things that have gone on in their local area. They would want that information surfaced and surfaced quickly. And so with the use of AI, that can be done, cost effectively and at scale. That's certainly one thing that happened. And then I think from an SEO perspective, it's fair to say that prior to ChatGPT launching in November 2022, there were the use of AI writers, applications like Jasper. So I think that now we're starting to see a little bit more of a more mature and considered approach from publisher website, proofreading and summarizing and bringing in AI labeled text. I think just a little bit more of a blended and more mature approach is what we're seeing in space now.
Great summary. It's funny to hear you say in the early days of 2017, but I suppose it's 7 years ago now. So, and certainly in the world of LLMs, it's a long time ago.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that the interesting thing is that we still come across many companies in the journalistic space that are quite rightly hesitant and a little bit inhibited with AI. They still really champion the human output, and I guess a little bit pessimistic in terms of the implementation of AI. And I think that companies that have gone a little bit more bullish and then have been outed in terms of inaccuracies and hallucination are the types of things that draw the eye and make companies a little bit more hesitant to embark on large projects that can take large amounts of resource. Personally, I'm a believer in the more progressive approach, and embracing AI in the long term inside journalism and outside of journalism is what people need to be looking at.
So how would you say the way that Google has reacted to the trend of using LLMs in content production?
Yeah, so obviously Google's got its work cut out with the world's largest index. So the crawling index process is compromised and is challenged by the bad implementation of AI. So in previous years, with things like grey and black SEO, the inappropriate use of AI writers to generate pretty average text or images or video at scale compromises their index. So their initial sort of viewpoint in terms of helpful content was that anything that was automated would be unhelpful content, and they were quite black and white, that they would detect AI content and they would penalize it. And now they've really relaxed that. So as the helpful content updates move to an algorithmic process, they're now basically saying that anything that's automated that is helpful, from an algorithmic standpoint, is good. So it's a little bit more of a level playing field, and is a lot more progressive. But Google's indexes is become enormous since the advent of large language models, and it'll continue to get larger and larger.
Is it necessary to label content that has been produced largely by LLMs?
Yeah, it's a really good question. So absolutely, that is the the best. Those are the instructions from Google and the like. What we have seen is sometimes companies will have enable an author, and then they'll have AI, again, the name of the author, which sometimes raises a few questions and say, I think you need to be quite transparent and quite explicit as to whether you actually have primarily a human writer that's maybe co-assisted with some of that information. But in some instances, this has been used in a little bit of an underhand way. So effectively pretending that there's a human author and then labeling that content as AI, maybe, from SEO, like from an SEO perspective. So I think that muddies the waters. It makes things unhelpful and difficult to understand.
I guess the keyword is primarily there, because I guess if you're using AI to tweak, to enhance an article written by a human being, then it wouldn't be necessary to label it as having AI involved in the process.
Yeah, I'd agree with that, absolutely. So, it's not like you would say AI wasn't involved in the creation of on a news website, but that had been proofread by a human. Just like you wouldn't need to be, with ChatGPT, for example. ChatGPT for proofreading can be amazing, and I'm sure that there'll be plenty of writers that are using it day in, day out for a use case.
So should journalists and quality content writers be concerned about their future career aspirations?
Well, I think that the feeling, and I think that that's the thing that gets the column inches in that industry, and it's really understandable because of the way that people are searching and discovering content day in, day out. So, as these large language models are getting more influence and they're getting stronger each iteration, so, moving on to ChatGPT later on this year or earlier next year, these are powerful applications and are drawing people to consume news and content in new ways. So I think it is understandable that people feel threatened, but I think that it's about getting to, what is unique. So for me, exclusives in things like sports and news is still like a really, really sort of genuine way of finding like things outside of the realms of what a machine could do on its own. Just like human creativity, I think human to human creativity is something that is in high demand and always will be. But yeah, I mean, when we've worked with journalistic companies that have got a steady flow of, it could be boxing, it could be a cricket, but it could be a golf, and they're in that industry and they're speaking, to the actual players and the people that participate in these sports. Those types of scoops, but the things that really set, other companies apart.
Okay, but I just get the feeling that within a couple of years, it's evolving so quickly, it's improving so quickly that AI will be able to do things like maybe take a live transcript from maybe a football game, is the example that you gave, and within a minute of the final whistle, have a great high quality analysis of what happened in the match, printed or published online. Certainly, are we not getting to the stage where it's getting harder and harder for these quality content producers who are real humans to compete with that?
Yeah, I think that there's space for both. I kind of think that there's no reason in the future why we wouldn't be excited and interested in bot content creators' opinions and views. I kind of see it a little bit like search. So search has expanded beyond Google, and influential search in particular has expanded beyond Google. And so I see the same thing with content. there's no reason personally why I would suddenly stop being excited and interested by human created content. I just think that there's so much more potential on top of that for companies to explore both avenues. Actually.
And Google are jumping on the AI bandwagon to a certain degree as well, with search generative experience, with Google's AI overviews. Does this in itself not pose a threat to other content publishers?
So with search generative experience, which was an experiment that they launched in May 2023, and then most recently in May this year in 2024, rolled out AI overviews as they sort of conservatively branded it as. And I think that it is ironic that for news impression, AI overviews doesn't actually serve that much. And when you have elements of the Google product, such as Google Discover and Google News, I don't really see AI overviews threatening those, compromising those areas of the Google product much. Obviously, there is, the potential for things to change, for percentage of impressions to change as the kit gets more impressive. In the early days, obviously, Google has been publicly outed in some large media outlets for hallucinations and inaccuracies in their results. But I'm a believer that Google need to really protect what is good about Google. And I think from a news aggregation platform perspective with Google News, that's an important brand for them. And Google Discover in terms of personalized content. So you have TikTok, you have Perplexity AI with their own Discover channel. I think that Google need to, maintain and improve their Discover channel where they do sell ads and things. So I think that these are areas where, in comparison to things like e-commerce and pharmaceuticals, the news space looks to be quite conservative in terms of AI overviews in the US at the moment.
Now, one strategy that publishers are deciding upon is to block LLMs. Is that a short-term fix, or is that actually a long-term assistance for their future success?
Yeah, again, it's a great question. So BBC at an early point put it onto their news, their blog roll, but they were choosing to block OpenAI. And through the browser plugin from Bing that goes into OpenAI, there's still ways and means of, that content getting crawled in there. So, for example, if you look for the latest news on The Guardian via ChatGPT, via the :command that many people in SEO have done over the years into Bing.com, Bing.com doesn't block all the indexable content for that absolutely there. So you can find the latest news on, websites that have opted to block OpenAI's bot and Google's LLM via the browser plugin. So there's really no way of absolutely blocking that content. You're talking from a training perspective, because that's about blocking the integrity and mitigating against any distortion of truth. And I think that in the future, what consumers want is the truth, amongst other things. They want to be excited by the news and interest. I do believe that there will be a growing demand in the future for what is the truth.
So what's a future-proof organic search strategy? Is it to combine both strategies and maybe have content writers that are human and content that's just produced by humans in combination with, on the same website, have content that's produced by AI and just see who wins?
Yeah, so I think there's two things. It's how the audience are changing. So yeah, I think it's been well accepted that organic search in the early days really was born out of manipulating Google as a technological IT-based activity, and Google clamped down on that. And then over the years, companies like TikTok have really promoted themselves as a search form. So, you can search and discover content in other places such as Instagram, YouTube, obviously as well. So I think that there's being always on in the right space outside of Google is a really good place to start. And, knowing with, a search engine that does have a very small penetration like Bing, knowing where you rank and knowing how you perform in Bing, I think is important because of browser plugin within ChatGPT. But yeah, I think it's about broadening out what your non-Google organic search strategy is.
Let's finish off with
the Pareto Pickle.
Pareto says that you can get 80% of your results from 20% of your efforts. What's one SEO activity you would recommend that provides incredible results for modest levels of effort?
I would recommend from day one installing Microsoft Clarity on all the websites that you're looking to rank, and put on some music and look at some session recordings, some user recording, because we know that Google have gone to great lengths with the Chrome browser creation to follow click streams and to identify and understand bad clicks versus good clicks. Doesn't have to be Microsoft Clarity. It's just an app that I really like. I like the AI implementation with Copilot, which can summarize and highlight trends within the data that's being collected on a real-time basis.
And what type of music does AI prefer?
Yeah. Well, diversity, I think. I think is the name of the day.
I've been your host, David Ben. You can find Duncan Colman over at spike.digital. Duncan, thanks so much for being on the In Search SEO podcast.
David.
And thank you for listening. Check out all the previous episodes and sign up for a free trial of the Similarweb platform over at Similarweb.com.